I'm a simple man. I could watch Leah refilling wiper fluid on the BMW iX all day. There we go. Nice. An exclusive tour for you of the updated BMW iX. This is BMW's flagship EV SUV. What have they changed? How good is it now? What have they fixed? Let's find out together. I'm Thomas, this is Autogefuehl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the, yeah, you know it. It is the very famous BMW mono kidney, or the BEVA kidney, and indeed they have changed it a little bit now because there was a lot of criticism about this huge mono kidney, and since it wasn't a typical double kidney, here now optionally you can go for the illumination. That looks really cool, especially at night, and I think this illumination around helps it actually to look less mono kidney like. Also the inside, it had like a different structure, like the graphic structure. Now they have these lines here, and this also again helps it to more show again, yeah guys, I'm still somewhat a double kidney, you know. So yeah, what do you think? Do you like this change or not? I think it does the car quite well, especially here with the illumination. Arctic Race Blue is this vehicle color. Now available also for the iX. We recently had it in the 4 Series Coupe, for example. And yeah, you see, that's why I also dressed in Arctic Race Blue for you here today. New also, a true M Sport package. That means a sportier look here. Look at these black accentuations in the lower part and also at the sides, because the iX was a little bit standalone in the model portfolio so far. And now they make it in the same logic like the other models, that you can get an M Sport package and then an M Sport package Pro. The mirror caps would be also black here in the M Sport package Pro then, if you would add that. So overall the logic now is more standard BMW alike, let's take it that way. Lamps optional with an adaptive LED, and then you can also see this new structure on the inside. This is also new. And here the vertical daytime running light. Towards the side, length 4 meters 95, 195 inches. And this is also big news, 23-inch wheels. These are the biggest ones available now for the first time in that size. Oh, wow. Really, yeah, really massive. It would start from 20-inch, by the way. And I think the color is also fitting the car very well. By the way, you can always see it right here, frameless doors here, front and rear. And you can also optionally get an additional insulation as well. That, yeah. I mean, for frameless doors, it's okay, I would say. I've heard better. I think the Porsche Taycan has a better sound with frameless doors, for example. But for frameless doors, I think it's actually quite okay. Typical also here, this visual split here with the iX logo. Always looks nice. You can also actually feel that here. And once again, the 23-inch wheels, BMW individual here in the rear, yeah, that's really, really massive. Also a technology upgrade as for the suspension, because they want to make it sportier. You would have a base steel suspension, optional air suspension, standard for the M Performance model. And in all settings, the setup is sportier. So there's like less rolling and so on. You can optionally get a rear axle steering. That's also possible, where the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels. All models come with all-wheel drive. All models now with more power. So far, there was an entry-level version on the European market, for example, that wasn't even offered on the US market. Now, there will be a new entry-level version on the US market. And it will also be the upgraded version on the EU market. It's the xDrive 45, 97 kilowatt hours net. So this is almost the battery size as the big battery was before. And that model is just at about 5 seconds in the acceleration figure. All models again with all-wheel drive. Then there is the updated xDrive 60, so that received a new number because this one has also more power now. This one is in the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour, below 5 seconds, but it will be quicker even to 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour. And then new will be the M70, before it was the M60, so also received a different number because of a higher horsepower output. That one then is in the acceleration figure just at around 4 seconds, a little bit less than 4 seconds. And here the xDrive 60 and the M70, they receive the 110 kilowatt hours net battery. That battery is actually the same like we had before, but they now put a smaller buffer. So from gross to net, there's a smaller difference. So getting a little bit more capacity out of. So once again, the difference is 97 kilowatt hours to 110 kilowatt hours net. So overall, the entry version is now way more attractive, whereas there's not such a big change for the already bigger version. So I think this new entry version then for the US market and also this entry version for the European market now way more attractive than before, because it will be the best price performance offer, so to speak. This model then here, of course, just gives you a little bit more range. Top speed is also different. The entry model 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. And then here, this one and the M70 is 250 kilometers an hour or 155 miles per hour in the top speed or VMAX. Then here, lights, you can see this very slim integration. This has not changed, but the optional M Sport Pack adds more really sporty accentuations in the lower part. Is it maybe even too much for that vehicle? Tell me in the comments, or is it exactly what you have expected? Would be looking forward to see your feedback on that. Recharging of these batteries. So you have about 35 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. AC and DC charging. AC, depending on the market, 11 or 22 kilowatts AC, and DC peaks are 175 for the small battery and 195 kilowatt for the big battery. So yeah, meanwhile there are vehicles on the market that charge also a little bit quicker, but overall it's still fine. They also worked a little bit on the charging curve and so on, and also on the overall efficiency. So not only that the battery is a little bit bigger than with the big battery, and way bigger indeed because it's a different battery for the entry version. All cars will be more efficient, and BMW claims that they can get 10% of efficiency gain overall. How did they do that? The inverter has been updated, and also the tires are better roll resistance. Yeah, now with the 23-inch wheels, maybe not the best idea for the range, because, I mean, like here, like how high the wheel would be, the diameter, that is actually good for range. But of course, when the wheels are bigger, they are also wider tires, and that is not good for range. So the best wheel for an electric vehicle would be like extremely large in diameter, but extremely small in width. But then again, that's not good for handling. So you always try to find a compromise and so on. But it's clear that if you want the best range, you would pick the smallest tires in width for the BMW iX, and also as for the riding comfort, it will also be better. And the third big efficiency gain will be a heat pump. And wait a minute, it didn't have a heat pump before? No, actually it didn't. Now it gets one, and that means you will have less range losses in cold temperatures in winter. Oh, look at that. Leah's flying away from the BMW logo with that camera. Here the turning indicators have this pulsing effect here in the front, symbolizing some kind of a heartbeat. What do you think about that? And the rear indicators are integrated right here. Yeah, they are slim but very wide. And if you wonder, by the way, there is no frunk. I cannot lift up the hood. However, what I can open is, wait for it. There we go, hidden BMW logo, and James Bond style, you can fill in the wiper fluid there. And here you can also clean the front camera, so there's a cleaning system for the front and the rear camera actually. This is the key fob, light, nice, also feels good. Then the doors here, once again, yeah, could be a better door closing sound, but again, as I said, it's frameless. And then inside of the doors, you have this seat control at the inside in this crystalline look. That's an option actually. Harman Kardon sound system is standard now. Before it was 3-level, bass, Harman Kardon, or optional Bowers Wilkins. The mid trim is now standard. Lower part here, all hard plastic, sadly, for the doors. Then there's a new M Sport steering wheel. If you have an M Sport package or the M70, then you have the new round steering wheel, classic one. Still also real buttons at the steering wheel here, that's what I like. And the base steering wheel would still be the one with the flat bottom. They are all from animal source, so the animal-free steering wheel is not available for the iX. Then the seat, in this case also the animal skin seat. However, the new base seat for the M Sport Pack would have dynamic microfiber on the inside and SensorTech on the outside. You can see here that the sport seat here, M Sport seat, has these wider bolsters on the lower part and also on the higher part. You don't have to go for it. It depends if you rather want a, let's say, more closed seat or more open seat as the base seat is. I would probably also prefer the base seat unless you drive sporty very often. Yeah, but then you can also get it with the Dynamica microfiber. And here with 189, 602, still some headroom left. Electrochrome roof, soon more to that. And the steering control here is electric. And you already have a quite high SUV driving position. If you don't have the M Sport Pack, by the way, you can still get the normal SensorTech seats, so the high-grade leatherette. It would feel the same actually, also very soft, high quality, just that here you have a more symmetrical look in the pattern, and the SensorTech seats, they have a more asymmetric, a more futuristic look as for just the pattern. Then as for the cockpit here, really clean, and you have this freestanding screen unit here, 2 separate monitors. Also you have this floating middle console. Then you have the inductive charging pad underneath, also cooled, 2 USB-C chargers if you want to charge by cable, adaptive cup holders, free area in the lower part. You could also put your smartphone like this. Yeah, but then it's not inductive charging. You could also, yeah, actually you could put the cable in the, like in the USB-C chargers here, and then put the cable from down there. That would also be possible. If that makes sense for you. Then you can also select something in the infotainment system with this MMI knob here, turning and pressing, also possible. And the shifting is done here, so really clean integration. For changing the driving modes, you have to press My Modes. Then you are in this menu. You can either select or confirm in the screen, or then also use this one again, that you don't have to play around in the screen while driving and then have to press again. Yeah, it's kind of complicated still. You don't have to do separate steps. And if you have the adaptive air suspension, then there's also a wider span now in the driving modes from the base to the sport setting. Then here, split opening for the armrest, more space underneath. No charging possibilities in there though. And the new M Sport steering wheel is a little bit thicker, like that. Yeah, but the base steering wheel will also just do fine. By the way, if you wonder why didn't they just take the new steering wheel from the BMW 5 Series or from the X3, because they look the same, and they have the new animal-free material, which actually feels even more high quality and has also very good in the durability. The reason for that is that even though if a steering wheel looks completely the same, it can be different in the technology sense. So here in this case is actually the thing, it looks the same like in the 5 Series or in the X3, but it's from a different supplier and it's completely different steering wheel from the technology behind it. That's why they couldn't just take it over. Driver POV here with the M Sport steering wheel. Then the instruments. First of all, this message there in the right lower part is because it's a prototype vehicle here, so that won't be in your final vehicle. And also here these lights, we only see them on camera. I cannot see them with the real eye. There's like this infrared checking if you're still alive, basically, while driving. And then here, head-up display is also available, and the climate unit is being accessed here in the screen like this. Also here for the seat heating or for the steering wheel heating, for example. It's easy when stationary. While driving, it's not that easy to do, I feel. And also the system itself is quick enough, but sometimes lacks a little bit of overview, so you better need to know like what stuff you're actually using, but you can also customize a home screen. And here the electrochrome function of the panoramic roof. There we go. So you can change that. The sky is pretty cloudy and white today, so you don't see the difference that much. You would more see the difference if we have blue, bloop, bloop, bloop. But I think you can see, you know, then that way you can also block out the sun rays. Rear seats, really interesting. Here you have the electric release from the inside of the doors. And here the standard now Harman Kardon sound system. And here, this is the failsafe, the manual door release for the rear door. Lower part, also just hard plastic. Then you once again see all the carbon fiber in the core. And then, before we check out the space, here put this one down, and you have some cup holders, which are also somewhat adaptive, and climate unit for the rear. And hey, here we have still real buttons for the climate unit. So this will also be here. Seat heating is also available, so this will be appreciated by the rear passengers. Then using this all-electric platform with no tunnel here at all. So you have a lot of space for your feet here in the rear. That makes it really very well possible to sit here in the middle. So this is one of the cars where I can best sit knee room wise here in the middle position, and I have the seat set to a tall driver and passenger actually. Just that like the middle part, of course, like from the bolstering is a little bit harder, will be better than in the SensorTech version. And also headroom here is actually no problem with 189, 6'2", there works very well. And the knee room here, this is really good. So we have a lot of cars that have the same length but have way less legroom. So the rear seating space here is really very, very nice. And also the ergonomics are also fine. Interesting here for the ISOFIX outside each. So you might think, yeah, how can I access this? And there's this, how would we call that? I mean, you have this strap here, and then like in the theater, ladies and gentlemen, this is the show. And then you can put the ISOFIX for the child seat in there, and then you can also let the curtain.
Do you feel that in the back?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Only if I put the curtain up, of course. You know, it's the same here then, like this. You know, so yeah, interesting curtain solution here, definitely. So I wonder if they officially call that the ISOFIX curtain. Let's check out the trunk or the boot. There we go. So you see, it is a little bit cut off here. Very interesting. And wait a minute, what about that? This is actually, let me show it to you when I activate the turning indicators right now, because when the hatch is opened, then obviously you need another solution here, like this, like the easy backup or like simple backup solution, because the real indicators are of course on top here now, so you need this one actually when it's open. Yeah, funny stuff, right? And then you see more of this carbon fiber core here. And the trunk is, let's say, a little bit cut off like here, like a, almost has like this yacht, you know, like an expensive boat atmosphere. Cabin trolley fits in vertically like this, and you see here, the width is quite good. So when we make it here, this is it's more like 1 meter and 10 or 43 inches. Then the length is like also 1 meter 10 or 43 inches. And the overall height is here about 73 centimeters or 29 inches. Here you can also store a charging cable. Remember, there's no frunk, but enough space for the charging cables here. And then you can also here pull that one back. And also interesting here that you have this click to secure it once again in place. Then this button here, it's pretty cool because this is for the retractable towing hook. And here we go with the towing hook. It's funny, right?
I know what you're thinking.
No, it's not what you think. Also sounds interesting, doesn't it? So there we go back again, and goodbye. Then we continue with the trunk and this top cover here. You just push it once underneath, then you can remove that. You could also remove this top part here, but I don't see a big reason to do that actually. Yeah, you can sit in the trunk close and have a table, yeah, and look through the window. Maybe nice for doggos. And then here, release right and left. This is done like that. And let's check out the total length. So overall, it's still well usable, although the liter figure is not that impressive. So there we go. And the length here is actually a good 2 meters or 78, 79 inches. So I still like the flexibility. Why not? Interesting, by the way, there is a second possibility to fold these seats here. If we go around, and then I fold the seats up. There we go. And then you have another button down there. Leah can also press it on her own. There we go. And I can do the same here, 1/3, 2/3 split. And that's basically it. And of course, you also have this middle solution here for just the ski hatch. Then you can also just individually fold this one. Sport mode. Woo! That's nice. That was like 20 miles per hour to 55 miles per hour. This is the new updated iX xDrive 60. So a little more power, but it will become more effective at really higher speeds, which probably we will rather experience in Germany. But very interesting spec here. First of all, don't wonder, here we have the logo covered and something else of the dashboard is covered, because this is the very, very first prototype vehicle you can actually drive of the updated BMW iX. And they try to cover things first before like the final reveal, because this is like a handmade vehicle, so to speak. But a very interesting spec here, because first of all the X-Drive 60, then you have here the base suspension, not the air suspension. And for me, it's the first time I'm driving an iX without the air suspension. Here in the US, it's more common actually that you go for maybe the base suspension. Usually test vehicles in Germany are equipped with the air suspension, so it's very interesting to compare that as well. And we can also find out more about this new sport seats and the new steering wheel, how that one behaves in that vehicle. And even the base suspension here has a sportier setup than before. But more important is also what wheel choice you have. So in this case here, we have 21-inch wheels mounted. And so far, I think it's doing a good job. So I would have expected, since I know how it drives with the air suspension, I would have expected a bigger difference between air suspension and base suspension. But I think here the combination of base suspension and 21-inch wheels works actually pretty well. So it's, I would say, comfortable enough. I would probably not go for bigger wheels than the 21-inch, because that one can actually reduce the comfort. The sport mode here does more with the, like with the power output, that you can easier put down the throttle and so on. And we also have it actually new here. It's not too easy to change that while driving actually. Here out of the corner, all we drive. It really pushes you in the seat, definitely. So what you can also do now is here a Sport Plus driving setting to draw back the ESC a little bit. Yeah, for public roads, probably not really needed, but at least they give you the possibility now. In most cases, you would just leave it like this. And in the air suspension, the sport mode would also make the suspension stiffer, and there's now a wider span between the normal personal mode and the sport mode. Here, to select the driving modes, I've criticized that sometimes with the new BMWs. At least you don't have to do it in the screen. You can press this one and then you can confirm here also with the drive selector. So the fixed recuperation you only have when you go to Sport Plus. So it's always in adaptive, but only if we are in the Sport Plus mode. Then it also just says here charged, and then when I go for throttle, you always have a hard fixed recuperation, always the same, like you are in that B mode here when you pull down the shifting lever. If we go back to the normal sport mode and the personal mode, then it's always this adaptive recuperation. Usually it would not have the emphasis on one pedal driving, so you rather have, like here, when you leave the foot off the throttle, maybe a little bit of recuperation. Is usually adaptive by standard. That means when here I have a car in front of me, go off the throttle, then we have recuperation. Then when the distance is far enough, it's just rolling. And you can argue pro and con. This is on the one hand combining advantages of recuperation settings. On the other hand, it is not that predictable. And I always like that cars are predictable in what they do. You know what I mean? You can argue that it's more practical, you can argue it's less practical. The other thing you could do is here, when you pull down the driving lever here, the shifting lever, then it's in the B mode now, and that one always gives you the strong deceleration, the strong recuperation. That is also possible, so let me show that to you. So here on the throttle, going off, strong, it's just like the one pedal driving feeling. You will have to just pull the lever each time again anyway, so it won't be activated by standard. But definitely here focusing on the base setup, I really like the base suspension. I would actually also say it's not really necessary to upgrade to the air suspension if you don't exceed the wheel size. Remember 20, 21, 22, 23 inch available now, first time 23. I think 20 and 21 works very well, will also be better as for efficiency and so on. As for the new steering and seat setup, that I'm not the biggest fan of. So like the M steering wheel, I mean, I can very well understand if you say like, yeah, I really like more a round steering wheel. I can understand that from the visual part. However, I feel that the flat bottom steering wheel better fits to the vehicle in a way that it more blends in with the rest of the interior. But I think like here, when it's a little bit thicker, it's not necessarily better to control. I mean, yeah, both are fine from the form. The seats here, they do offer more side support. So when you are in some corners and so on, the seats hold you tighter than before. On the other hand, I feel that I have a little bit less comfort because they cage me in a little bit. So I'm more a fan of this open seat setup, so the base seats. Good thing for you again, you don't need to go for them. We have yet to test the seats with the dynamic microfiber, which would be standard for the M Sport, but I will probably go with the base Sensatec seat and the base steering wheel. And to me, that's just a little bit more comfortable here. Maybe it's also a thing if you're tall or not that tall. Yeah, but I would also be happy with the base setup. It has really nice driving agility as well, so I really like it if we can just see it around. Also here some tighter corners and so on. Rear exit steering is an option. We don't have it equipped with this vehicle. Here on wide American roads, that's totally fine. We're driving around the Spartanburg area where they have their big plant. This one here, however, is not built in Spartanburg. However, the iX is built in Dingolfing in Germany. So this is actually imported then here. Yeah, that's the thing about, import taxes, blah, blah, blah. Big topic here, of course, as well. Driving settings, and then iconic sounds. This we can also show to you. I mean, at the moment it was off, but here these iconic sounds, especially when we are in the sport mode once again, we can have this, yeah, it sounds a little bit artificial. It is artificial, of course.
But for the passenger, it's good.
Yeah. Then have like a like a feedback. Now the acceleration is coming. So yeah, in that respect, probably it's a good idea. Other than that, for me as a driver, I can also live without it. And some sporty corner driving. Here again, feel that the steering wheel is very nicely aligned, also with what the car is doing. So here, look at that, at the angle of the corner and the angle of the steering wheel. Don't have to oversteer that much, and really smooth, also no dead zone angle and so on. So that's actually a lot of fun. So although you have this big and heavy SUV, you have, there's like a warning there because the car was standing at the side of the road there. So it's pretty cool, and you can stay calm and collected. And here now in the corners, still also sporty enough, although we have this normal base suspension. So definitely speaks for the space setup of the vehicle, and we're having a lot of fun. At the same time, it is also very relaxed drive, definitely. And in certain markets here on the highway, you can use the Assist Plus Ready. In the US, it's available, in Germany as well. And if the Assist Plus is ready, you're actually allowed to take your hands off the steering wheel. It's still a level 2 in the sense of you are still responsible yourself if there's something that you can still, pay attention, have an intervention. So it's not that the car is responsible, but you should look straight on the road, but you could take your hands off the steering wheel. And yeah, see here, keeping me in the lane, also with the green symbols here, everything. And you can also do like a semi-autonomous lane change, that's also possible. And consumption here, ideal conditions, mild temperatures, a lot of 60 miles per hour, 100 kilometers an hour driving, and then we can score like this ideal consumption of about 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour. That's only about 18 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That would mean a real world range for the small battery of 540 kilometers or 330 miles. And for the big battery, even 610 kilometers or 370 miles of real world range. Again, ideal conditions if you don't drive too quick on the motorway and so on. And it will be a little bit worse when you have higher speeds or when you have, like more changing speed and so on. So definitely these efficiency upgrades and the upgraded batteries, that is where the customers will profit most from, that you just have more range. And in general, as for the range, the iX also in comparison to the competitors usually scores pretty good results. Now then also very important to have the heat pump, that this range is not reduced that much in winter times. And it drives very well. If it really needed to be even sportier, I'm not so sure about that. I think it's very important not to pick these 23-inch wheels here we see today, because then you just lose too much dampening comfort. I would have wished for the animal-free steering wheel. I would have thought that they upgrade that one and not put even more animal skin options in that vehicle. That's not in the line with the rest of the BMW strategy, but other changes are actually pretty good and very useful for this facelift here. What do you think about the iX and the update? Tell me in the comments. And now check out the Volvo EX90 or the Audi Q6 e-tron.